should be able to see my screen too, right?
I'm guessing we will, yeah.
Or will I share it?
Right?
No,
Oh, I see. So I think,
Can he hear us at all? What's that?
you can try them again, but I think we'll do the best.
Sam, can you hear us at all?
So I think we'll have you tuned in right now through your phone. And if for some, it's if you can hear, great. But when I-
As long as we can hear him.
Yeah. Okay. So this will get on again. Okay, well, it's 5:33. We'll get started.
Something is not right here.
Thanks. Yeah. Oh, hey, thanks for coming.
What's that?
You can put the PowerPoint up. All right, okay.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Oh. Okay, all right, so we'll get going here on our Upper Lake Park Visioning and Public Information Meeting. I want to thank everyone for coming. My name's Rob Vandenham, and I'm the Director of Public Works. And we have other staff here with us. Tyler Menzel is the Recreation Director. John Crane, who is our Superintendent of Parks and Forestry. And Roger Strom is our City Engineer, right there. And thanks to the aldermen and women who are here with us tonight. A special thanks to Dan Benning, who is our technology expert. So I'm sure the technology glitch is somewhere out in the, I don't know, somewhere out on the internet. All right. Just to kind of set the background for it, so we have Sam Waltman, who is zooming in from Madison. He's a senior in the Department of Planning and Landscape Architecture at UW Madison, and we are going to. Oops, can we go back to the? Yeah. So I'm going to give a little presentation, and then we'll kick it over to Sam. But so I'll kind of set the table. So Sam's a senior at UW Madison. He's working on his capstone project. He's a senior there. So this is our first public information meeting that we're just going to really try and gather comments. So it's a really blank slate. We are not advanced in the process at all. But again, to kind of set the table on Upper Lake Park, we have had concerns with bluff erosion and beach access for at least the last 20 years, and I think at least 20 years before that as well. So this is a topic that's been discussed really since I was here in 2001. The city was already contracted with JJR regarding bluff stabilization and beach access. It's a very expensive project, so we've been moving perhaps a little slowly on it. But recent slides in the high water on Lake Michigan, of course, that exacerbates the erosion, and so that's why we're talking today. So we're working with there's a lot of things going on. We're working with Miller engineers and scientists on a plan to stabilize the bluff that is essentially a little less expensive than the original plan we were looking at 20 years ago. We are currently undertaking final engineering for that project. So I guess that's the easy part, is doing the engineering work. The hard part is paying for the actual improvements. And so stabilizing the bluff is a multi-million-dollar project. But regardless of whether or not we stabilize the bluff or create access, a paved access down to the beach, we do have to deal with bluff recession, okay? So on average, the bluff along Lake Michigan recedes about 6 inches a year. Again, that's on average. And so it's encroaching on at least one section of the roadway, the northbound roadway. And so part of our plan that we are creating with Miller engineers and scientists recommends that we, in the near future, move that northbound road. So where do we move it? What does the road look like? What does the park look like? There's parking issues. There's concerns about safety going to and from the parking lot to possibility playground. You know, all these things we want to take into account. So, you know, we have a park up here that is a luxury for us. It's over 20 acres, and if you count Valley Creek and the other surrounding parks, it's much more than that. So there's a lot of potential for the park, and you know, we want to get people's feedback. So we've partnered with UW on this project, and again, this is something that the city's, it's at no expense to the city. Sam is working with us, and again, this is really a blank slate where we have some ideas that after I talk and after Sam talks, we can just gather around these images or just talk. So I've handed out, first of all, a sign-in sheet. So if you haven't had an opportunity to sign in, we welcome you to do so, because we're happy to share information via email as this process evolves. The other thing I handed out, and I want to give credit to Alderman Gasper, who reminded me that from the 1935 sesquicentennial, right? Or no, the centennial, sorry. They were promoting Port Washington's new park. And so I thought that was very interesting to share, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it, just, I don't know, because I find it fascinating. So I'll kick off. I'm going to have a fairly short PowerPoint. So here it is. So this is from 1935, and it's kind of hard to see, we've blown it up so much, what some of the things that are in the original park plan. But it's again, I think it's very interesting that you have, so the roadway, this is essentially Lake Street, and then it comes up through past, this is the old Gunther Pond, right? Some of you are familiar with it, I'm sure. So around the pond, and this roadbed still exists today, but it came up into this circle here. And, you know, again, it's interesting, some of the things that are shown here that, you know, we're still talking about today. For instance, this is a meadow. Of course, we have a picnic area. Here's a camping area. But, you know, the park itself, you know, you drove up to it, and there's a parking area right here, and essentially that is what was planned for access to the park, okay? And then you can even see up here, so the beach is down here, but the overlook, which again is something we're still talking about, is set back here, meaning the bluff line is up here. So this original plan appears to have intended to essentially stabilize the bluff from the beginning. So I wish they did it in 1935. We wouldn't have to be sitting here today. But again, I think, you know, the things that they were talking about in 1935 that we're still talking about. And here's what I find really interesting. So 6 years later, this is what they built. which if you ask me, doesn't bear a strong resemblance to the original plan. There's no meadow, no camping area, no picnic area, mostly just mowed lawn. And the bluff isn't cut back. But I do think something interesting on here is the roadway is here, and there's pedestrian paths along here. And I'll be honest, I don't know if these were roadways or not along here, if just the roadway is through the middle. But of course, this is a loop, which bears some similarities to today. So 1970, it looked pretty similar, although, I noted that, and this is in my next slide, that, there used to be a connection here in 1970. And so I don't know all the history on it, quite honestly, but there were two connections. This is Norridge Trail, of course, and this is Hales Trail. So fast forward to 1980, the park changed, quite a bit in those 10 years. You can see we had an additional parking area here. We had an additional parking area there, but really no amenities in the park. There's no beer garden, no possibility playground, no paths. I'm not. Okay, right, a couple picnic shelters, and so it was a real passive use. So then fast forward to 2022, we've had the bluff recession that we're talking about, so we had to take out the parking here, and already we're about 10 feet away from the bluff reaching the pavement edge here, all right? And so in the next slide, you're gonna see what is being recommended by our engineering firm to at a minimum shift this road over, okay? Because the bluff is eventually going to meet the road, right? But here's one concept that we'd like to get your feedback from. Again, we need to move the roadway right now. Upper Lake Park. This is my opinion. It's essentially automobile centric, where it's a very nice ride to drive around the park, but I think but it's not very pedestrian focused. There's no separated pathway for pedestrians to walk on. They can walk in the street. We have a painted white line, but for families that are trying to walk from their home, the possibility playground, they're still walking in the street. And so if you're, walking with a young child, they're not in a stroller. I can tell you as a parent, that's a little anxiety provoking. So this is just one concept that was drawn up by Miller Engineers of converting this one-way street into a two-way street, and creating parking on this side so that you wouldn't need to cross the street in order to access the playground. Again, I think that's anxiety provoking for parents, because what happens is they get out of the car and they immediately run out of the parking lot to the playground, and then parking here on the other side of the street, serving the beer garden. So that's one thought. And then this roadway, whatever this looks like, could be converted to a walking area. It shows an overlook here, and then there's this would be a paved pathway down to the beach. So this is the full build out of the park. We're still working on, the engineering for what that would look like. This is a buried armor stone revetment, and so that would protect the bluff, the toe of the bluff. Beach nourishment would be added to, again, protect the toe. And then this section of bluff would be stabilized. This section of bluff, essentially, you can see right here, there's a real visible delineation between what is very unstable and I guess what's less unstable, because you can see the vegetation is more, There it is. So in any case, so it's taking hold here. So we wouldn't touch anything beyond this line here. And right now, in fact, what we're looking at is actually a little bit south of that line. This is what we're calling alternative B. It's a less costly alternative, which still provides access down to the beach, provides this tow reinforcement and beach nourishment in there. And at a minimum, the roadway in this approximately 600-foot section moving to the west. And there'll be more, if you're really excited about what I'm talking about, it gets more exciting. In December, we'll have Miller Engineers and Scientists at our Board of Public Works meeting to make a presentation on the park and their progress on the design. So they'll give a more technical presentation. Again, that's the second Tuesday in December. We moved it from November to December. Okay, all right.
Can I ask how set in stone will it be once they make that presentation?
Oh, not set in stone at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that that is my segment of the presentation. Sam is going to talk a little bit more about some of the alternatives that you see in front of you. When I say alternatives, he's going to refer to them as precedents, I think. These are, photographs that are naturally from other bluffs that I think some of them are on the Atlantic Ocean and not on Lake Michigan. But some possibilities essentially for improvements in the park. Yes, sir.
Are we getting ahead of ourselves a little bit with the landscaping before we come up with a real scheme for the stabilization of the bluff?
What landscaping are you talking about?
Well, Sam's plan.
Oh, these are, this is, I can't emphasize enough that this is super preliminary. This is, we have only been working on this for about a month. So sometimes, when we come to public information meetings, sometimes we have a lot of things available and we might get criticized for being too ahead of ourselves. And sometimes we get criticized because we don't have enough to look at. So, maybe we're more towards the beginning where where it's more a clean slate. So as far as like the question, are things set in stone? I would say far from it. Engineering wise, we'll know what it takes to stabilize the bluff. So we have a plan of action, so that we're ready to move on stabilizing bluff, at least for that section that's on the screen. But as far anything else within the interior of the park we are looking for your feedback on. I would say there's only two things that are set in stone. One, the road is eventually going to have to move in the near future. Not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but soon. The road is going to have to, at a minimum, move to where it's shown here. So we move it from right here to over here, okay? That's one thing that's going to have to happen. That road is not going to stay here forever because Mother Nature will eventually take it. The other thing that I think is a course that we're committed to is having a separated walkway between the new sidewalk on Hales Trail and then where the sidewalk ends. It's not on the screen, of course, but the sidewalk ends at the top of the hill. If everyone's familiar with that, you can walk up from Lake Street up to the top of the hill, but there you are, poured out into the road. So in any case, we are intent on creating some sort of off-street connection here. So even if this is what we wind up with here, we'll still, whether it'll be a road out here and then people can still jog around the circle if they want, but at least moms and their kids can walk safely to Possibility Playground and down to Veterans Park or whatever. That's going to be somewhere. Yes.
Okay, so the piece where the stairway is now,
Yes.
and then the piece to the overlook parking, I mean, that's very close to the road. And it doesn't really show that stable there that we're not
Yes.
thinking about it?
Yeah,
Like that's never gonna move.
I didn't say that.
Okay. Well, right, or there was stabilization, I remember.
Right, so,
there's stabilization that was done,
sure.
but I guess I'm looking at it like if we're gonna
So
do this, why are we
let's
still
see.
doing that piece of the road close to the end of the one?
Wait, where, let's go. Yeah, so, right. So of course, this is our wastewater treatment plant. So when this was constructed, this portion of bluff was stabilized and it's stable to about here. Okay, so so strategically, that's why we put the stairs there. So there was no additional stabilization necessary. But in order to construct a path that will naturally have to zigzag, we would have to stabilize that section of the bluff. Yes?
Did the engineers talk about the effects of the currents and the water coming around the water treatment plant?
Mm-hmm.
You know how that happened down at Concordia, the neighbors
Yep.
north or south of whatever they built had huge erosion problems. That, it seems like is that considered part of the problem here, you know, where the bluff is really collapsing? And if so or if not, is that taken into consideration with that stabilization?
So the answer to your second question is, yeah, I mean, they're examining the wave action. They're doing all the engineering work and the surveys that are necessary to, and they've, I'm gonna leave the question about the Concordia situation to them, but essentially I would say we're not in that we're not doing what they did. We're not, yeah. So where we're stabilizing, I think the Concordia, where they're armoring, you know, the essentially the face of the beach, I think is what created some of the erosion issues. But actually, there's actually not a lot of, you know, the erosion that we see here is essentially just, I guess, natural erosion. It's not accelerated by anything. And then by protecting the toe and then burying it here, essentially that kind of assimilates nature. And so they're more, you know, natural, and so that it's not going to accelerate erosion anywhere else. But again, I'd invite you to come on December, the second Tuesday, which I think is the 12th.
That in that first meeting, I remember them.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same situation.
Yeah.
Our situation has something to do with that. Sam Sinclair,
Right.
right?
Yep. So if there are any, there is another question. Yes.
Just a statement, perhaps you could, yourself, if you could, perhaps you talk about, you know, when no engineers came and talked to us, they really felt that this whole area that we're talking about with the stabilization of the bluff, that it really would help the wave action. Felt very confident if we did what they're talking about in that bluff area and down, that it really would stabilize it for the long term.
Yeah.
And that it wouldn't be subject to, you know, the erosion from the wave action. And they also talked about just bringing in a whole lot of more sand and that type of.
Yeah.
Really building that area up, so it almost made me feel confident that, boy, that might last, you know, our lifetime.
Oh, yes, I would most definitely expect it to last our lifetime.
They're really taking away here in the plan, once it's figured the whole bluff thing is falling away onto the earth.
Yeah.
Because what's that, 110 feet or so now, you need a 80, something like that. So it's stabilized with this overhang push down, and then at the bottom part, you know, big cement blocks.
Right,
They'll
they'd
be
be bringing
down,
those in.
they'll be down there. So, question is, if that's so strong, it beats up on everything that we do, I know this is either side. Hopefully by the side, that's only goes about halfway down to another 800 feet before we get to this house. Hopefully that's enough.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, it's not really under the scope of what we're talking about tonight, but I would, yeah, I would definitely invite you to, anyone and everyone to come to the December 12th Board of Public Works.
So the differences so far between A and B is, first one you showed, we just got one road, one no loop, just straight across. The second one, you got, I guess, maybe parking or some sort of road access.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the,
The other one.
that's not the, B in this case is how far we're going with the stabilization. So we chose B. A actually had stabilization going out further, and so, which was more expensive, and so we chose B. But, and, yeah, so, no, as far as, this is essentially a concept plan that we drew up as part of a grant application, quite honestly. We had to put it together quickly. So this was, not done with any public input. This was just one possibility. And then again, but as a necessity at the minimum, we're going to have to, do that. So this is kind of the minimum roadway shift, I guess is what I would say. Yes, John. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm looking right at you.
Is there any consideration given to making the current park path a real street? So to connect Hales Trail to Lake Street was a street, not a path like we have today. Because what we have in Upper Lake Park does not meet any street standard
Oh,
at all.
sure.
Because, we now have a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit up there, which has reduced the speed to about 40.
Okay.
If we get 10, maybe we'll get, what I'm saying is that there's a possibility of having a real street be used as a real street with two-way traffic going from north to south. I don't know, have we done a count up there?
We did. Was it 800? I think it was 800. Is that right? 800, which was, quite honestly, it was more than I anticipated. I did, yeah. Oh, a day, yeah. 800 vehicles a day. So that's, yeah.
It might make sense to have a two-way street with parking on both sides, so if you're, get out and be where you want to be.
Sure. Well, that's certainly one of the things that would be considered. Yes.
Just a quick question. So with the additional parking over there towards area 5, let's say,
Okay.
is that parking spots, the additional parking, let's just say it's 50 extra spots, does that match up with the 50 spots that are on the south side that would be gone? Or
What?
would there be another opportunity for additional parking?
Yeah, and that, right, so that's part, I mean, we're looking for your comments. I mean, I know that there are days up there where there's trouble finding a parking spot, and so, but at the same time, we don't want to, I guess, I don't know that we want to over-design the parking either, because the parking spots take up green space and cost money and are there 365 days a year, where we might only have a parking problem on 3 days of the year. So I think we want to kind of strike a balance. So kind of like they say, you don't design the church for Easter Sunday. So we don't want to, necessarily design the park for,
Right now, moving that proposed over the curve more infringes less on the spaces that get used currently. I mean, if I look at right now, and for us, it's only one day, so we're talking about a whole fish day, but that infringes on 25 vendors, our wrestlers, entertainment, stuff like that. Pushing it up into the middle of that. Where if we moved it slightly to the south or the north, it would maybe, it probably requires moving that little playground that's there, it looks like, right?
right, yeah. I'm not sure that that playground's going to be there forever. Okay. Yeah, but that's some, again, this is based on, this is very much just a concept, not a design. Yes?
Don't we definitely need to add more parking in the other lots?
Uh,
Because when we get used, or if we get used to something, there is no parking out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there should be out there that the public can use, but when we have the beer gardens, they're always planning some place to park.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, one option is like John was talking about, maybe there's on-street parking. Maybe there's grass parking, something like that for special events. So I think that's something we need to kind of be mindful of and as we're working with community groups or people who run the beer garden, just coordinating it better. And I think that's something we're kind of working on with staff.
It was much better this year. I don't think we had, there were definitely weren't as many complaints. In fact, we arranged for a shuttle bus and then didn't, after the first beer garden, didn't need to use it because police department put out a very explanatory, here's where you can't park. And people did that, like followed the rules and that was it.
Sure, okay.
So that worked very well.
Good, good. Yeah, I mean, and then, you know, and honestly, I think, you know, so I don't know if this parking lot stays here or gets moved over or we add to or whatever. And I think also, and then I think also, you know, if we have an off-street pedestrian path, you know, I think that just helps if you have to park, say, way over here or even on Hales Trail. If this, you know, if you've at least got something to walk on. I mean, I know, you know, if you go to Summerfest, you walk quite a ways to go to Summerfest. So, I mean, I like to think we're, yeah.
Looking at those in the parking lot towards the area where you can see the lake, that takes care of the heritage.
Sure. Okay. Well, if there's not anything else pressing, you can still ask questions afterwards.
Cars. Count. I like to walk in the Lake Park. I would love to sit by the Lake Park.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sit there, there is that just drives me.
Yep.
And I think it's to see the lake.
Yeah.
This takes the wind out.
There's also a lot of people that park out there.
Yep.
Especially in winter when you can't get out and sit by the lake.
Sure.
That's
So you
part
know,
of there, and
with the one-way street move west, I'm just wondering if anyone, if that's a concern. Because a lot of people find this a destination to drive up.
Right. Well, right. But I think we want to, you know, yeah, we're certain.
But if it's,
the road is gone,
the road is gone if it's a two-way road to west, right?
No, I think they have a loop, it's not spelled out.
No, the
Well,
green says it's a whole.
So this is, yeah, so this is one, yeah, option, the two-way street.
Right, the pink is the road. and the
Yep.
green would be a path.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay. All right, yeah, if there's, we can take other questions. We're gonna let Sam do his part of the presentation here. And then we've got till 7 o'clock to talk more.
I'm on mute. How about now?
Yeah.
All right.
You're good.
Awesome. I'm gonna throw you on mute so it doesn't echo. Alrighty. Alrighty. How you doing, everybody? As Rob said, my name is Sam Waltman. I am a senior at University of Wisconsin-Madison, majoring in landscape architecture. And for my capstone project, I will be completing a plan for Upper Lake Park. I'm very excited to work with the community and Rob and his team. It's been a good process so far, and I look forward to continuing that. As Rob was saying, this is very rudimentary. This is not something that's set in stone, just some basic ideas based off meeting with Rob and his team around a month ago. So whatever comments you have or suggestions or things you do or don't like, feel free to suggest, and I will take that into consideration. So the first thing that I will be talking about is the proposed elements for the park. And these were just based off of ideas Rob and his team had. Um, so let me zoom in a little bit. We'll start at the bottom of the park. So the first thing that I propose we do is add like a little bike slash running staging area. This would be connected to the original parking lot, so people wouldn't have to cross the street. It would increase safety, and it wouldn't be something that would be overly hard to build. You can make it multi-seasonal as well. Maybe throw like a little, I know it's hard to see, but maybe like a little roof on top of it. So if it was cold, because I know it gets cold up in that region of Wisconsin, you could use it throughout the year. And then as you can see here, this little yellow path is the pedestrian path that I'm suggesting for the park. And as you can see, it'll run straight from the bike area all the way around the park. And then having a crosswalk on this side, just because there is another parking lot here, not to crowd the space a little bit too much, I was going to cross it over here for a little bit and then bring it back down, and then connect it again to the start of the path and then back to the staging area. So the first thing I'll show you, let me move that. Somehow. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is a rendering for the pedestrian path, a little just idea that I had. So it would be in the interior of the road. Obviously, if you were to put on the outside, there could be some issues, as Rob was talking about. The bluff is receding. So that was just kind of my general idea to put on the inside of the road. And I think it'd be a little bit safer with the green space here. Just feeling a little more internal to the park, not just like on a road per se. And then another idea that I would have would to be implement like these nature benches throughout the site. It wouldn't be anything overly complicated, but you could have them maybe every 50 to 100 yards or something like that, or whatever the case may be. I think it could be very beneficial. You could sit on the benches, look over at the water, just take a break if you're running or biking with your significant other, or whoever you might be doing that with, or make a phone call. So I think there's a lot of good uses for that. Additional planting, maybe some trees along the outside, just to kind of create like a natural buffer between the park and the road. Rob told me that there was a decent amount of traffic through this area, so really ensuring that people feel safe and inclusive in this park is something that I really thought about when making these designs. And again, this is all just experimental design. Whatever ideas you might or might not have, feel free to chime in. Alrighty, the next thing that I am proposing would be a pedestrian path through the central area of the park. So if you look on the last board, or I'll just click on it for you, this yellow would be, this is what I just showed you. The yellow would be like this pedestrian running and biking area, and then this is a different one. So this would just be generalized paths, and it would, I feel like it would really connect the community to the park. So as you see, there'd be one right up here near the neighborhood, coming all the way down through the park, connecting to the parking lot. So wherever you do park, you'd have plenty of opportunity to walk from one side of the park to the other, and then down by Possibility Playground and the additional existing features down here. The path kind of curves right along it, and very close to the parking lot as well. Some additional ideas that I had, once we get the bluff stabilization figured out. You guys have such a beautiful beach area and water. I've never seen water that blue when I visited, so it's something I think we need to highlight in the design. So I was thinking about doing maybe some overlook points, just like maybe 2 or 3 strategically placed throughout the site. And this is all contingent on stabilizing the bluff, but I think it could be a good opportunity. So the first one, I'll just give you a few options. Could be more of like a natural thing, kind of building into the side of the bluff. Wouldn't protrude too much, but it could work. This one would be more of an octagon type shape that you could put out a little bit farther. So you have like a 360-degree view of the entire bluff, the water, the rest of the park. So that could be definitely a cool opportunity. Here would be kind of like a crow's nest type idea. and you could connect it to the trail, maybe slightly elevated too to enhance the view. And then the last one, which I think could be the most feasible due to the bluff stabilization issue, would be to have like a long strip like overlook point, just because you could set it back far enough that it'd be stable for the rest of the um, bridge to maintain itself. And so I have a precedent, or actually, let me just go through some of these elements first. Um, So the first thing that I want to discuss, or I already talked about the bike area. As you can see down here, this little square, and then these two up here, this would be referring to a new pavilion type area, something Rob and his team really were thinking about, or was having like a place where you could have venues and activities and things that would be multi-seasonal as well. So that's something that I'll go back to my precedent study to show you kind of my ideas behind that. As you can see, so this is a pavilion for the old farm in Bristol, Virginia, actually my home state, so it's pretty cool. And as you can see, it's multi-use. So say in the summer months, you're having like a wedding, a venue, or whatever the case may be, you could hang out here with your family. And then in the winter months or the colder months, I know it gets cold up there, you could figure out a way, or we could figure out a way to close this area and you'd still have a bar and seating area, and it would really create a venue that I think would be beneficial to the site. And then lastly, I think that the design of it kind of fits in with what you guys already have at your site. It's nothing too crazy. It's pretty much fits with the um, architectural style and materials. So I think it might blend in well. So this is something that I was thinking about. Here in this area, I will be proposing like a ropes course or like a kids area. I know you guys have Possibility Playground, which is pretty crazy if I say so myself. Big park. I've never seen anything like that in my life. But I think having just another additional area where kids can hang out and play would be very beneficial. And it'd be near the pavilion. So parents could be hanging out with the family, doing whatever, drinking, and they have a quick view of their kids and everyone playing here, so they would feel safe. Right next to the parking lot, but we could buffer that with some trees and planting to make that a little more friendly. Up here would be a ecologically restored area, native planting. My thoughts for this would be you can not only use it for ecological restoration, but maybe some education as well. If you kind of split up the space a little bit and made them like aggregates, if you will, of little native species. So you could kind of walk through almost like a path. And so kids from the local schools could come over with their teachers and learn about the environment. Or if they just want to walk through and get some fresh air, that's also an option. Um, and then down here, I have a sports court. I was thinking about, I know you guys are adding volleyball courts, but I think an additional sports court could be beneficial for all months of the year. So whatever type of sports court doesn't really matter. But if you had a sports court, you could use it obviously in the summertime, and then the wintertime, maybe turn it into like an ice rink or something like that. So it'd be multi-seasonal, multi-use. And then down here again is like another pavilion type idea. It might be a little smaller just because of spacing, but this one will have bathrooms. Both of them will have bathrooms, places to serve food, to drink, all the amenities. And then up here, the last one to kind of connect the trail to the park, something that Rob talked about was increasing connectivity throughout the park. And I think this would be a really interesting way to do it, not only for connecting the trail, but I just think it would be a good element to add. I know it's a little bit small down here, but as you can see, it's kind of like a little pedestrian bridge, nice and lit up. And it doesn't have to be something with lighting. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just enough to illuminate the space where people feel safe that they can walk there any time of the day, any season, but without being kind of a nuisance to the surrounding community or people that are living right by it. So I think that would be something interesting. And then down here, I have a lighting and path proposal. So as you can see, this is just the existing, or not the existing, but the path that I proposed. And these little red dots would be pathway lighting, which you can see in this picture. Again, increase in safety, something that I really was thinking about. So you could use this park at any time of the day, and a lot of kids would probably be in this park with their families, so that's definitely important. And again, it would be illuminating the space just enough that you'd feel safe in the environment, but it wouldn't be too much for the surrounding homes. So as you can see, just minor lights here. And then the yellow lights would be overhead lights, similar to this, maybe point them up the trees, just to kind of brighten up the space a little bit. But as you can see, it's just enough light to feel safe in the environment, nothing crazy. And then just in addition, I just kind of added these. This is all just idea stuff. This doesn't have to be like this, but as you can see, like maybe this is what the path would maybe look like through the park if you added trees along the outside. So make sure I got everything. Yeah, alrighty. That's everything I got. I'm more than excited to hear your feedback. We've been working on this about a month, so it's a little bit rough, but in the next coming months, I should have some more designs for you guys and some more refined stuff based on whatever you guys tell me. So thank you. Thank you guys for taking times out of your busy days. I know it's not easy, and I wish I could be there today. I was having a little bit of car trouble. My car went into the shop this morning, so I couldn't make it, unfortunately, but doing the best that I can. So thank you.
Sam, can you hear us at all?
So yeah, you do have some common forms. It doesn't have, yeah, we have more right here. If you didn't get one, we have, all right, that's fine. So, it doesn't have a spot for your name, but, if you want an answer, you're gonna need to put your name and, your contact information, so we can always get back to you. So if you have questions, we'll eventually get some things up on our website so that you can make comments there too. So again, it's kind of a work in progress. Sam is a student, so this is being driven, he's the one essentially driving it, okay? And so we're obviously helping him with the process, but it is his project that he is working on. So we can't do it for him. This is for a grade, so I can't design his park for him. But yeah, if you have questions, I appreciate your interest in it. Feel free to stick around, talk to either myself. Tyler, again, is in charge of recreation. John Crane, in charge of forestry and parks. And Roger Strom, our city engineer. And we have Alderman Kearney and Benning and Postel. And Paul is here with us. And of course, Alderman Gasper.
We're gonna make this available on the website,
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I can't tell you when we'll have it on the website, but we'll work on getting that up. So appreciate it. And if you give us your email address, we can send you an email that says, "Hey, it's up on the website. Come take a look." So don't have to check every day. Yes.
So, as a member of the community, along with my fellow volunteers, and especially, we seems like he's adding a lot of additional stuff to all of our beautiful green space. And is that where the city's going?
No, and so yeah, no, I want to be clear that this is sort of considered a design charrette. So there are a bunch of ideas that are thrown out. You can like them, you can dislike them. He wants to hear, but these are ideas that are in other parks and other places, and these are all possibilities or potential for the park. I don't think this is not the plan. Please don't walk away from tonight thinking that what he showed up on the board is in any way intended to be constructed as a whole. So there could be, like I said, there's going to be some kind of walking path. I don't know where exactly, what route it's going to take. The road's going to move one way or another. We haven't done any of the engineering, but I mean, like your feedback on how you feel about how that would, affect the park. As far as, a venue on the north side of the park, we'd love to hear your opinions on it. And again, we have these foam boards out. Feel free to take a closer look, think about it, ask questions. So, Sam referred to me a lot, but me and my team, this is the team. So, so I know, as far as programming goes, Tyler and John are really the people you want to talk to about programming. So I'm the guy you want to talk to about, paths and stuff.
I didn't even think about like a basketball hoop, pickleball, and all that
Yeah.
stuff at Upper Lake Park because I see them in all the other
Mhm.
parks around. I guess high level, the city and the community, would they want to have those type of sport amenities up there, or
Mhm.
is Upper Lake Park going to be more known as a outside of possibly a playground, of course, like more of a I won't say professional, but of a mature setting park?
Mhm.
You're not going to have the basketball hoops. You're not going to have the baseball bat. I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's the design that.
Well, yeah, so you don't have to, turn this in today. In fact, and I'm sorry, I wish I had this one, Sam was on the line, we were gonna have a Google Doc for it.
I guess my
You can always
question
feel free to email these things to me.
history of it. I mean, is it known to be more like, I don't know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, is it still the concept to keep it more like sport type stuff in other parks, but keep this more of a more
A
mature
passive,
setting?
a passive use park.
I'm just jumping in here, but part of the biggest draw to Upper Lake Park is the beauty of it and the green space of it. And we have 34 parks in the city. We have areas, that we're advancing, like the pickleball courts at Colbach Park. And I would say we have to tread cautiously that we don't overextend ourselves and start adding these things. Well, yeah, it'd be great to have these amenities because now you can play these things while you have the lakefront here, but you start adding too much and then all of a sudden this just becomes all recreation, and then we kind of lose the initial allure of Upper Lake Park. So it's definitely, when we saw all that, when Sam put all those things together, it's like, whoa, okay, that's way too much, But these are all just pieces that, are thrown out there. As Rob was saying, this is just concepts of ideas, and I'm really happy that we had such a great turnout tonight because we want feedback from the people that use the park. So it's great to see that, and I just think that, yes, it's very important that we tread cautiously because you don't want to overextend and take away the beauty that's been there forever.
But I mean,
Because that was my question. Like I said, it wasn't that I was saying we should put hoops there. What I'm saying is that we put it up there, I was like, I would have never thought that. And so then I was like, well, wait a minute. So you answered
I had the ability to tie myself to the top of a tree and fight for that.
but
Wildlife.
And so. There's the idea of, do we put something, if anything at all, to have some recreational draw besides just green space to the north end? It could be one of those things, it could be none of those things.
But I know when I'm up in that park, everybody is down on the south end of the park unless they're walking the lap. And so is there a need or a desire for something on the north end of the park? And I think Sam's just doing a good job. Is it sports? Is it a ropes course? Is it a nature restored area? Is it a pavilion? What could that look like? And where does the interest fall from you guys in the community?
I really like on that north side where no one's there, when I see these people hammocks between the trees and just sleeping out there and overlooking the lake. I still think you need to have a small parking lot on that north side where we have that whole pavilion number 2, so that people can utilize that. Maybe we figure the road how it comes into the park. Because that's the most stable area where we have real estate. That if there would be some sort of just looking at the road apartment about like 52 or something like that, just to consider. Because there are so many young people that like to be up there with trees, and we have a lot of seniors that want to be really close to the car, and we have beautiful benches we're not going to remove, but you want to be able to sit and watch the sunset. Nice sensory relaxation.
I walk along the lake up there a lot, and there are people on all the benches. And there's people at the picnic tables and people at, it's not a deserted area, people are enjoying it.
I think what Dave was saying was that to add on more so that it would add more accessibility. Yeah.
I would be very, very strong advocate for making sure that our elderly residents, especially my parents, when they're still get in their car and drive into the bluff and park and eat their lunch or their dinner. They've taken to going pulled up to that lately. And is that what's gonna happen when we drive to the bluff? Because if you look at if we put the road back, put the parking back, seniors are not gonna be able to access the lake view in the park unless they're in over we have what? And I don't think that's
Such a
fair.
lovely view.
And I don't think that's fair. I just, I think we really think about that strongly.
So, yeah, and I mean, back to the uses, when we walk the park, and I'll let Tyler speak to it, but, I think there is growing interest in renting the park spaces. And so particularly on the north side with, whether it's wedding venues or whatever, of course, outdoor weddings are becoming more popular. And so,
One thing you didn't add is when you put the pavilion on the north side, that's parking. You're not gonna have a wedding at a seasonal pavilion, there's only one little parking lot. So it's like, or is there a possibility that one of the other pavilions that there could be changed or added to make it a 3 or 4 season,
yeah.
rather than having another. I really like the technical green space up on that park. I think people come to that park, to walk that park, because it's not, or you don't walk that park on a beer garden Saturday. But that's a great park to walk and just spend time in nature all around. If you're up at a lake, you're by the lake. If you walk the other end, there's constantly deer there, and there's things to see. And the more you put space for people to be, and bring in recreation, and use that part of the park that attracts people.
The plan also doesn't address parking and the crossing possible playground. And kind of what makes sense is to go to just directly north of possibility playground and maybe move that northern parking lot to that space, right? Somehow to get that they can park and not have to cross it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we'll conclude the public public presentation. Feel free to stick around. And in either your questionnaires, you can just put them here on the table, or take them home and just bring them to City Hall, and we'll be happy to take care of it. So appreciate everyone coming again. We have the room until 7 o'clock, and so you can talk to anyone on staff. Thanks.